Yo, what's up YouTube? Welcome to Tricky Jim. Thank you so much for tuning in. If you're new here, my name's Andrew Mahone. I'm a world-class Pokemon TCG player and regional champion. And in today's video, I'm going to show you how to build an optimal deck in the Pokemon TCG Pocket using this secret technique. Seriously, I haven't seen a lot of players talking about this specific strategy yet, but it's only a matter of time before everybody is doing it. It's that good. If you like Pokemon TCG content, make sure to subscribe to the channel. That would make me really happy, because I'd get to see the number go up. The secret to building a great consistent deck in Pokemon Pocket is generally that less is more, and I'll explain what I mean by that. Less Pokemon actually ends up being better in the long run as far as consistency goes in your deck, and that's for a couple of reasons. First of all, there's no mulligan system in the Pokemon TCG Pocket, so you're guaranteed to start with a Pokemon every single game. And if you play less Pokemon, then you can get closer to guaranteeing that you're going to open with one of your optimal starters. Additionally, the only trainer that searches out Pokemon in Pocket so far is Pokeball, which is an item card that randomly fetches a basic Pokemon from your deck and puts it into your hand. The more basic Pokemon you play, the more often you're gonna find a Pokemon you don't want off of Pokeball. So the less basic Pokemon you play, the more often you're gonna find the Pokemon that you want. Take the Charizard deck for instance. Charizard decks usually play 2 copies of Moltres and 2 copies of Charmander. But maybe you find yourself thinking that this feels a little bare bones and that you should beef things up a little bit with some extra basic Pokemon, like Farfetch'd, which can Leak Slap for 40 damage, or maybe Meowth, which can draw a card with Payday. That might seem intuitive at first, but what ends up happening is that you'll draw into those Pokemon with Pokeball when really all you wanted was Moltres or Charmander, as those are the best 2 basics in a Charizard deck. So generally speaking, if you play less basic Pokemon in your deck, you're more often to open the one that you want, and you're more often to find the one that you want off of Pokeball. But there is one major pitfall to playing less Pokemon in your TCG Pocket deck, and that's Sabrina. Sabrina is one of the most powerful cards in TCG Pocket's base set. It's a supporter card that allows you to push your opponent's active Pokemon to the bench, and then your opponent has to choose a new Pokemon from their bench to promote. The problem with playing a low amount of basic Pokemon in your deck is that it will allow your opponent to target who they want to with Sabrina because you won't have any extra basic Pokemon on your bench to promote when they play it. For instance, if you've got a Moltres EX in the active spot and a Charmeleon that you're working on building up on your bench, and your opponent plays Sabrina, they can easily knock out your Charmeleon and ruin your game plan. But if you play too many extra basic Pokemon, then you're more likely to find them off of Pokeball and have a tough time setting up your Charmeleon. So what do? That is where this secret technique comes in. The fossils. The fossils are absolutely incredible in Pokemon TCG Pocket decks. They're trainer cards that you can put into play as if they were 40 hit point colorless Pokemon. They still give up prizes when they get knocked out, but since they are trainer cards while they're in your deck, they don't get hit by Pokeball. So when you play Pokeball, you're still most likely to hit the Pokemon that you want to find. What makes the fossils so good is that when you draw into them, you can put the fossil onto your bench alongside the Pokemon that you're powering up, and then if your opponent plays Sabrina, you can just promote the fossil and they can knock that out, instead of the Pokemon that you're working on powering up and that you plan on winning the game with. Additionally, if your opponent is on the ropes and tries to play Sabrina to stall you for a turn, which is something that happens all the time, you can promote your fossil and then discard it from the active spot. It's essentially a Pokemon with free retreat, which is also really nice. At any point during the game, you can always discard your fossil from play. So if you need to make room for another Pokemon, it's no sweat. You can just discard your fossil. And most importantly, if you've got the fossils on your bench to protect against your opponent playing Sabrina early on in the match, and then your opponent doesn't play Sabrina, and say they only have one prize left to take, and you promote a massive Pokemon like Charizard EX or Blastoise EX or something like that, you can discard the fossils from play so that your opponent no longer has a win condition with a simple Sabrina. As it is right now, I play 2 copies of fossils in 3 of my favorite Stage 2 decks. I play 2 in Charizard EX, I play 2 in Mewtwo EX Gardevoir, and I play 2 in my Blastoise EX deck. In all of these decks, I've limited my basic counts to 4 so that I have a higher chance of finding the Pokemon that I want off of Pokeball. And in the grand scheme of things, that makes these decks way more consistent. The fossils are best used in your Stage 2 decks to help protect against Sabrina and smooth out your setup. But the general concept of less Pokemon is more applies to some of your big basic decks as well. If you take a look at this tournament-winning Pikachu EX deck, for instance, it only plays 6 basic Pokemon, and that's all the Pokemon in the deck. 2 Pikachu EX, 2 Zapdos, and 2 Zapdos EX. One of my favorite decks to play right now is Articuno EX with Starmie EX, and that deck only plays 4 basic Pokemon. Some Articuno decks don't even play Starmie, and only play 2 copies of Articuno EX. The general concept at play here is that the less basic Pokemon you play in your pocket decks, the more likely you are to find and be able to set up the ones that you want. And that is the secret to building an optimal Pokemon TCG Pocket deck. I know this video is short and sweet, but I've been getting a ton of questions on stream about why I'm playing random fossil cards in my Stage 2 decks, so I wanted to put all of this information in a single video so that I could easily respond to people who were curious. Hopefully this information can help you in your Pokemon TCG Pocket deck building journey. If you want to see more of my Pokemon TCG Pocket decks, make sure to stay tuned. I'm going to be releasing a video shortly on my top decks in Pokemon TCG Pocket. Thank you so much for watching. Make sure to like the video and subscribe to the channel. Check me out on Twitch, twitch.tv/TrickyJim, where I stream live Pokemon trading card game content and Pokemon TCG Pocket content every weekday. Y'all take it easy and have a good one. See ya.